Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Scott Sickmiller, CEO of Midas Immersion Cooling, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business journey to business ownership, best practices that he's learned, as well as challenges that he may have faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Scott. Thanks so much for being here. Glad to have you on the show.
Okay, love to be here.
Well, before we dive into all things business, feel free to share a bit about you.
Uh, I'm operations is what I enjoy doing. I cut my teeth in automotive and appliance manufacturing in the Midwest. Spent 4 years in the Carolinas running a global marine lubricant company, and then got the opportunity to be part of the team at an emerging company here in Austin, and came down to run Midas Immersion Cooling.
Well, that is incredible. So I definitely want to unpack a little bit there. So, what year did you move to Austin to be with the Midas?
2021.
Okay, wonderful. And did you step directly into the CEO role, or did you how did that all come about?
So the we were the dog that finally caught the car. So while Midas, the origins of Midas were from 2021, um, we believed in the disruptive technology of immersion cooling. Success didn't come for quite some time. As the industry started coming around, Midas was purely an R&D and IP company, uh, and it quickly became evident to the team that was in place then that the team needed to strengthen and grow and move into production. So the short answer is I came in, was here 4 months and became CEO. It was more of an organization element before I became part owner and CEO.
Oh, very cool. So, currently, how many owners are there within the company, or how does that ownership structure look like?
Yeah, so we are an LLC. There are three owners. Two of us are active participants in the business. One is a non-active angel investor.
Mm. I'm just taking a few notes. That's very cool. Well, I'd like to dive into how you kind of like in the angel investor side of things. How did that come about? Was that already in place when you stepped in, or was that something you were working on?
No, it was in place when we stepped in. For uh, the data center industry is so large, measured in billions, almost trillions of dollars. Uh, and to go 10 years of believing in a technology before the time was here to adopt it. The angel investor came in early, and quite truthfully, he was key to keeping the seats warm for me to jump in and then bring us to success.
Wow, that's incredible. And now I'd like to dive into kind of share a bit about the background of Midas. What's the company kind of, what's that look like, and who do you serve?
Yeah. So ultimately, Midas cools information technology systems, computers. Uh,
Hmm.
and I would normally say we serve data centers, but as data becomes so more key to our day-to-day lives, a lot of the data that we consume, touch, feel, interact with on a daily basis no longer comes from the large data centers of yesteryear. So there's modular and edge data centers. Folks are putting in micro data centers, swimming pools. It is an interesting time to be in the industry. But ultimately, what our solution does is it cools the computers that give us the data that we can live day to day.
Okay, wonderful. That's what I was kind of thinking, but it was like, oh, okay. It gives me a better, well-rounded look at what you do. And so are you primarily serving like B to B or B to C? It's like businesses.
We're 100% business to business.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
the the scale, especially with today's machine learning and AI, um, it's the consumer grade products just aren't of the same horsepower or heat generation. So, case in point, the GPUs that we all hear about that are operating or or the backbone of the AI push of today. A server's $300,000 to $400,000. So very few consumers can bring that level of hardware on board.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I suppose growth mode must be wild right now too with all the advancements, and we're seeing so much with like AI and the needs to fill the capacity for that.
Yeah, AI definitely helped bring a very disruptive technology, which is sticking electronics in fluid, help bring it to the forefront. There were industries that were adopting it, specifically here in Texas, because it is extremely hot. But there were industries that were adopting it, which prompted me to come to the company. But now with the AI boom, the floodgates are definitely opening. Ultimately, anytime energy and compute turns into heat, and as compute goes up, energy consumption goes up, therefore heat goes up. So we just have to get inventive on how to solve those problems. And at the core, that's what Midas does.
Well, I want to dive into the team behind Midas and how y'all are making that happen. So currently, what's how many employees do you have? And I'd love to dive into a little bit about your company culture.
Yeah, we're less than 30 employees, so we are very small.
Mm.
At the core, we are still an IP and R&D company with manufacturing. Uh, that being said, our revenue per employee is pretty incredible. Privately held company, I won't go into too much of disclosure, but the solution that we offer the industry has such a high value proposition and the solution, having been perfected over 15 years, is the most elegant and simple solution to solve the problem. It's a good it's a good industry to be in. Ultimately, being a small team, everybody has to pull on the same rope, and that's really if you're going to be part of the Midas team, you have to wake up every morning wanting to make a difference.
Mm.
If you're going to ride along, just go to the big corporations and hide. But everybody that we hire, when they wake up in the morning, they know at the end of the day if they've done good or they've done bad. And that's just the legacy of being in a small organization or small team. And it excites many of us, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I like what you're saying because like a few people can do a lot of big work if the team is in synergy. If they're vibing, they're wanting that, and I think that's really cool that you've created that opportunity.
It's it doesn't take long for everybody to know everybody. That's for sure.
That's really cool. Some of are you seeing like emerging leaders coming up on your team, like within your employees?
Absolutely. And it's the joy of being in a small organization is everybody gets to wear multiple hats and flex different muscles.
Mhm.
And so we may have somebody start as an entry level engineer. The thermal side is important to understand, but when they get to interact with clients, get to problem solve with the clients or sales or input into marketing, it doesn't take long before you start understanding if somebody's got the bandwidth to grow. So absolutely, that's and the glass ceiling in a small organization, a growing small organization, continues to rise. So people have an opportunity to really grow and shine. I've got a couple associates in mind, but I won't mention them by name.
Oh, wonderful. And now kind of looking at, we'll kind of shift it back to your clients a little bit. So looking at your marketing currently, what are you doing to market your services out there?
So we do the normal elements that everybody does in the data center space. There's a bunch of trade shows. For example, we have a huge booth at Supercompute coming up in St. Louis in November. Uh, we're at DC Data Center World in Paris in November. We've done London. We're a global reach company. But quite truthfully, all that money that we spend in on those marketing activities, if I could funnel that to put anybody in front of a working system, uh, anytime a potential client looks and sees a working system, it's almost a closed client. They're going to buy. And that's the story of a disruptive technology. Whether it was the Cook with the iPhone on the stage many years ago, or any other, Elon Musk with the EVs. Anytime people can see a better solution working that goes against the current, anybody that understands the value proposition of being at the forefront, they come on board quickly. So we do all the standard marketing elements, heavy on LinkedIn, but ultimately our best marketing is walking a potential client into an existing client and seeing the solution work.
I think that's a golden nugget of this conversation for sure for other business owners to think about is can you get in front of your clients with the solution in action? Mhm.
Yeah, and the clients are getting more jaded. We mentioned earlier AI. Well, we use AI too. So there are so many renders out there. There are so many make-believe scenarios that you can almost make look real that the clients don't want to see those anymore.
Mhm.
We have a couple multiple megawatt, and we measure everything in energy because that's ultimately turns into the heat that we dissipate. We have a multiple 100 megawatt deployments. And in a disruptive technology, as it starts maturing, you start running into folks asking key questions. Well, can it be scalable? Well, it can. We deployed 100 megawatt 600 IT racks, lack of a better example, in a month. So when you can show these that real world applications of scalability and success of application, yeah, the renders are the AI that we're cooling to make the renders that we don't use anymore goes into the background.
Mhm. Mm. Well, thank you for sharing a bit about that. Now I kind of want to dive in, switch gears again, and talk about challenges because that is one thing as business owners, CEOs, that comes with the territory. And so, what is something currently that you're challenged with?
So again, I'll reiterate on the disruptive technology. Anytime a very large industry is faced with a new solution, there are a lot of headwinds.
Mhm.
And it starts at the very basic level of fear. We all can probably remember Bill Murray dropping the toaster into the bathtub. Electronics and fluid at our mind at a core level, we're told, just don't work. And that's the core of how we cool the electronics. We dip them in a dielectric oil. There's a lot of technology behind that, but that's the core of it. So for the longest time, we'd bring people into our data center here in Austin, and they would see the electronics, see that they're on, and we'd say, stick your finger in it. You get the oil, it's like a baby oil, but it's just to break down that fear. So even daily with the greater acceptance, we're still battling the fear. But now that the acceptance is coming on board, now it's the growth that any high growth rate company will have, the tools, the training, the service, everything that comes behind it. Those are the challenges today. But it started with the fear. We've gained the acceptance, and now it's the rapid growth, literally double X every year growth. And any business that's growing that fast has the same pain points. We've got to hire folks that want to make a difference. That's key number one. And then every action that we do as a leadership team has to, and I use this example, a lot of people roll their eyes, but has to make the boat go faster. There's a good story behind that. Go to TED, Google it. But if we're going to spend $1 or spend an hour to do something, it's got to go forward in making the organization better.
Mm, I'm writing that down for sure. Um, yeah, so I definitely could see those pain points, especially in this kind of high growth mode, not just even like creeping along, but like booming growth mode.
Yeah.
Would you say like recruiting, you mentioned recruiting, and I want to dive into that. So recruiting people, how are you tackling that right now? Because are you
So
trying to grow your employees like double digits?
absolutely, word of mouth is key.
Mm, mhm,
We are a technologically differentiated solution. So you need engineering is great. Having some technical expertise is great, but quite truthfully, we can train a lot of that. It's the aggressive growth mindset. At the end of the day, all of my leadership team are entrepreneurs. And if you're going to be part of the leadership team, you have to have that mindset. We do more with less, and it's one of our competitive differentiators. But then, even outside of the leadership team, There are challenges every day, and we have to be able. We won't hire somebody that's not capable of stepping up and doing something different today than what they expected to do yesterday, and that allows us to be extremely nimble, and it's a challenge. There are different skill sets and levels within the organization, and our job is to place the right skill set with the right soul or in the right position. But at the end of the day, as we know, it is a tough market to hire anybody, either if you're putting together a cooling distribution unit or you're in front of a customer. So a warm lead in is a referral is often the best way that we get our folks. But then outside of that, all the typicals. I don't use Indeed, but LinkedIn, promoted posts. We're in the industry, often have a huge network in a growth area like data centers and IT. Oftentimes, we're all interconnected. I was just reached out to last week for somebody that had been a sales guy from one of my vendors that I deeply respect, looking for a job. So that's the type of hiring that we're able to do now. In the future, with heavier growth, it'll be more difficult. But right now, it's a very personal hiring process.
Yeah, that was just gonna ask that too, is like word of mouth and the referrals is great for, a certain time, but then when that volume is needs to be met, how are you looking at maybe solving those solution or finding a solution for that in the future?
So on the leadership and the sales side, it's still going to be very personal. That may limit our growth at one point in time. It's not there yet. On the manufacturing side, and this is where my history, why I am here, a process that is put together well can be repeatable with quite a bit of varied talent, differences in talent. And when needed, when the volume is needed, the processes are set up to allow us to be a little less personal on the hiring. But that would be at that front line. The folks that actually make us all money that make the actual product. But we can be a little less selective when we need to. But we're trying to avoid that as long as possible.
Okay. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. One more question before we get into our rapid fire questions. Where do you see the company going in 3 to 5 years?
We're still growing exponentially. And this is, we talk about this almost every day as a leadership team. Uh, we're going to expand more locations globally. Headquarters will always be here in Austin. We will offer adjacent elements to just immersion cooling, whether that is other data center infrastructure, most definitely the service side that goes behind it, because it is technologically different and it's a disruptive technology. We have to do after sale service. And those elements, even with our tremendous growth ramp over the last 3 years, those elements bring our growth at that same speed or even a higher trajectory for the next 5 years. And at that point, I'm going to take a breath and stop and reconsider, or not reconsider, but recalibrate,
Mm.
because growth is painful. I'm 20 and I'm great. Just kidding. But growth is painful. So at some point in time, you step back and then you look at as a team. Is it time for this team to hand off to a different team, or are we large enough now to potentially go far outside the near adjacent, go to a little bit farther adjacent industry? But we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. That is such a true statement. Well, this has been a great conversation. Now let's dive into these rapid fire questions where I'll be asking you 4 questions and just answer very top of mind.
Okay.
All right. Question number 1 is, what is a key to success for you?
Staying focused. Absolutely. You set a long-term goal. It kind of goes back, does it make the boat go faster? People haven't heard the story of the rowing team. Definitely look at it. But does it make the boat go faster? Stay focused. Do not waste time and effort if it doesn't move you towards your goal.
Very true. Number 2 is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
This sounds terrible, but work harder. At the end of the day, nobody cares how many hours we work, how much money we spent, what we've made, what we've lost. At the end of the day, success is the only measurement. And the best way to get there is to work harder.
I believe in that too. That's very true. Number three is what is a book, podcast, or article, just anything that you've taken in most recently?
Yeah, Be the Unicorn. Very strange name, but again, a great book, relatively recent release. Synopsis of it: there are 12 key elements of success, and it rings true. So some of it's positive reinforcement that I'm not completely in left field, but a different. And again, it's always good to hear other folks' uh, journeys and their experiences.
I just wrote that one down. I'm going to put that on my read list for sure. Last question is if you could wave a magic wand and rapidly improve one element of your business, what would it be?
Be the service side. We're leaving revenue on the table by utilizing third parties. But again, as mentioned, we're a small organization with a global reach. So while service is key to the data center space, service level agreements, SLAs, um, at this point, it kind of goes to making the boat go faster, where we can move our resources and efforts to grow faster at the core competency, and we outsource that service side. Uh, Positives and negatives, but that service side should come in-house. And when it does, that area of growth will be exponential as well.
Definitely. Well, thank you for sharing that. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can folks connect with you and your business online?
So MidasImmersionCooling.com, and then heavy presence on LinkedIn. So whether it's myself, Scott Sickmiller on LinkedIn, Midas Immersion Cooling on LinkedIn, uh, the general email address is info@Midas Immersion, or excuse me, MidasGT.com. So there are a multitude of ways. The website's always there. Click, connect us. But LinkedIn seems to be the predominant method of business to business communication.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Scott, for sharing that. Now, for our final question of the day, what is most inspiring to you today?
The next generation. Recently, I had the joy of spending some time at East London University with a bunch of up and comers in this space. And when I looked across the audience, three things really impressed me. First was the intelligence. These kids are sharp. But the second part was the diversity. We're in an industry of a bunch of old white guys. And the diversity that looked back at me, that's changing and it needs to change. And the third element was just the willingness to accept something different because it was better. And that's the next generation is due to come in, and to be just a small snippet of that and have that interaction with them and see them coming forward. That definitely inspired me.
I'd love to hear that. That's very inspiring to me too, and I think that's going to resonate well with our listeners and viewers. And so, thank you, Scott, for just taking the time to sit down and have this conversation with me.
Always, Kay.